So the other thing about these reading groups is what Heller says from the Institute of Social Ecology. And if you don't know that organization, Jordan, you better. What Heller says is that we have to identify these three things. We have to understand the critical moment, a reconstructive moment, and an illustrative moment. And with these things, we have to understand like some critical moments. So like the critical moment right now is the abortion ban in Texas, right? So while that is like a critical moment, and we can talk about that, we can do a reading group around the abortion ban. We can pull various texts, whether it be articles or websites or magazines, and I think that's the one critical point to make, is that this doesn't have to be an academic thing. It doesn't have to like have this much text to understand something. I mean, you can have a book like this and maybe take a chapter out of it and talk about something. But again, it can be an article. Again, it doesn't have to be an academic journal. It can be an article from, from In These Times, Jacobin, labor notes, things of that nature. Popular Resistance on their website. Hampton Institute is another one. Institute for Social Ecology. So it can be any kind of text. And so when we try and do that, once we pull this text for that critical moment, then there's this reconstructive moment where we try to link issues with other global issues. So like, again, abortion. So even though it's affecting Texas, soon after Texas did that, Mexico just decriminalized abortion. So how do we understand this juncture in time? Texas just essentially criminalized it, but Mexico decriminalized it. So how does that affect the migration of folks going from the United States into Mexico? Now it's a border issue. Now Border Patrol is going to be involved at this point. And like the illustrative moment, where we try to take inform, plan, direct action together. So if we understand these things, then what are ways that we can do, once we understand this issue, then how can we start organizing direct actions? Do we start doing things like helping organizations in Texas to get those who need reproductive services in other states, or take them to Mexico? Do we need to work with is it Doctors Without Borders? Can they help in any way? Things of that nature. Garrett, what am I missing here?
I think you hit most of it. I mostly like this these moments mixing here because so many leftist organizations and movements and all will get very focused on single issues. And the thing is, almost none of these issues are in a vacuum by themselves. They all are interrelated and affected by each other because of just the nature of the capitalist system that exists today, especially this neoliberal global version of capitalism that we have that's never really existed before in history. So it's really important to be able to connect all these single issues, and instead of us working in small groups without very much power, we link these struggles together to make a bigger movement that actually does have the power to change it.
Absolutely. And I think that's the other thing to emphasize also, is that sometimes we think we have to be something like organizing work, like it has to be a meeting and do an organizing. I mean, that's a component, but these reading and discussion groups can be that. It can be simply just having these conversations and maybe start saying, well, what do we need to do to organize? And then kind of go from there. Or how do we just develop an action plan during that reading group also? Because how I kind of tailored some reading groups is we read and this on the same topic, read something about the idea, and then maybe read like a praxis component to it. So if we talk about, again, say abortion, here's all this great text about defending pro-choice, but here's some examples of what organizations have done before. Maybe use those examples as to our own direct action. And this is something like I have done. Do you have any questions on these two slides?
Not in the immediate moment, but I might chime in or cut you off to ask something.
That's fine. That's fine. Because I mean, that's really want to highlight here. And I guess the other thing that Gary and I planned out is, well, we won't get into the whole nuance of how to go about the meeting. So I guess I'll say in brief. Actually, yeah, Gary, if you can go back to that slide where it says, how do we start a local reading group?